Hey everybody, how are you? I hope that all is well with you today. I'm so excited to be doing our next creative escape with you today. This will be number 3, and our theme this week is oceans and beaches. And if you haven't had a chance to check out the list yet, you can sure do that at the link above. For those of you that maybe this is your first video with me during this process, as we're all in quarantine or, stay-at-home orders and whatnot, I know it's really important to find ways to relieve some stress and find some things to do. And one of the ways that we can all relieve stress is by finding a creative outlet, whether that's drawing or painting or music or baking or whatever it is that you enjoy doing that gives you some creativity. Those are some great things you can do to relieve stress. So just wanted to be able to offer some help during this time with some free creative escapes for you. As I said, this week's theme is oceans and beaches. So today we're going to draw a jellyfish. So I'm going to turn you around here so you can see where we're headed, and then we'll get started. Okay, so hold on 2 seconds. We are hanging out in my art studio today instead of in the dining room like we usually do. All right, so we'll turn on a couple of lights so you can hopefully see a little better. If you have any questions as we go, please type them in the chat and I will sure try to catch those and answer them for you. So we're going to start, as I said, with just a jellyfish today, and you can color it however you want to color it. Maybe add some bubbles or some other fish. There's lots of things on that list that's at the link above. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, you can do all kinds of different fish. You can do whales and starfish and seashells, and there's sandcastles and all kinds of fun things that you can add to it. But here's where we are going to head today. So I'm going to set this off to the side. If you haven't done so already, go ahead, grab a piece of paper and a pencil, and you can draw right along with me. It'd be great fun. And, as I always say, you don't have to have any art experience to be able to participate in these drawings. Okay, the idea is to just have some fun. Give yourself permission to make mistakes and mess up, because that's completely part of the process and totally fine to do. And just, make it a judgment-free zone, and just whatever happens, just enjoy it, laugh at yourself. And, I'm sure I'm going to make some mistakes too, because, jellyfish are not my normal subject matter. Those of you that know me know I love to draw flowers, but you know what? It's okay. It's fun to draw something different. So here we go. We are going to start with the top of the jellyfish. So we're going to make just kind of a dome up here at the top of your paper, okay? And I like to start in the middle. And we're going to just kind of work our way out with a half circle shape. You decide how big it's going to be. Entirely up to you. And when you get to the end of that half circle, just kind of curve it around just a little bit like so. Okay, and then we're going to try to repeat that shape over here on the right. And again, just curve that half circle around. And when you get to the end here, just tuck it in just a little bit. Okay, so there's the place to start, and then we're going to create kind of an oval here on the end. So we're going to curve up to start with. You decide how big that curve's going to be. Mine's going to be pretty narrow, and then we're going to create the other half of that oval here, and that will be kind of the back side of the jellyfish. So again, a very narrow oval right there. So now you've got the top of your jellyfish that I'll call the cap. I'm not sure that that's the real name for it, but hey, that's what we'll call it. Okay, so we've got the cap here and then the opening there. Okay. All right, so next thing we're going to do is put the little ridges in for our jellyfish, those little sections that kind of wave in and out. Okay, so I'm going to start in the middle, and I'm going to do kind of a big dip right here, so to speak. Okay, and we're just going to draw right over the top of that line that we created. So as you guys are drawing at home, you might make sure to do that fairly lightly so that you can erase. I'm pushing a little harder so that hopefully it shows up okay on the video. Okay, all right, so from that center dip, then we're going to create some more little ridges working our way along this curved line that we did, the top part of our oval shape. Okay, again, you can decide how big or how deep of a dip you want these things to be. Okay, well, we're just going to work our way around to the corner. Okay, I'm going to make this one just a smidge smaller, and then this one needs to come out and connect to our jellyfish cap. Okay, all right, and then we're going to do the same thing going this direction. You know, if you like things nice and symmetrical, you might see if you can fit the same number of dips on this side that you did on the right side. But again, doesn't necessarily have to be that way. So if yours isn't going to come out that way, don't worry about it, okay? Just have some fun, give yourself permission to make some mistakes and make a funny looking jellyfish. That's okay too. All right, okay, so this one here on the end, again, we're going to connect to the cap of our jellyfish. And then I'm going to take a second and clean up some lines with an eraser here, okay? So just erase what you don't need. And then touch up what you do need. Darken those lines up a little bit, okay? How's your jellyfish coming out there? All right, cleaning this up. I hope y'all had a good Easter weekend. I know it's kind of different than a lot of years, but sure nice to still celebrate the day and find the joy in it, you know? All right, so from there, we're going to take these little these points on our ridges, and we're going to curve them up towards the top. So like there's kind of a center point, like right up here at the top of our jellyfish, and they're all going to kind of head roughly that direction, but they don't have to connect to that point, okay? And that's, again, going to create some nice ridges on our jellyfish and give him some dimension, okay? So we're just going to curve out and up and kind of angle towards that center point a little bit. And same thing on this side, we're going to curve out and back in towards that center point. And then the rest of these are just going to kind of echo those first lines that we drew. So again, we're going to curve out and then bring it back up towards the top. So kind of like an umbrella, I suppose you could think about it. As I'm drawing here, I went, that kind of looks like an umbrella. Okay, just let it get narrow right there. Okay, and then the last one on this side, curve it out and bring it up to the top, kind of like so. Okay, all right, do the same thing on the right-hand side then. So we're going to curve out and then bring it back towards that center point. And again here. Let it get narrow there at the top. And the last one right here. And again, get a little narrow right there. Okay. And I'm going to clean up this line just a little bit right there. Again, give yourself permission to get it wrong or, you know, have sketchy lines like I do. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Just clean it up. Whatever method you need to get to the right answer, so to speak, use that. Okay. All right, so now we're going to create the same thing here on the inside of our jellyfish. And a lot of the lines we're getting ready to draw you probably won't see once we get the tentacles in there for our little jellyfish. Okay, but that's all right. We're going to draw them in there so we make sure we get things positioned well. Okay, so again, I'm going to start here in the middle. Okay, and I'm going to start with a dip that's kind of straddles that middle right there a little bit bigger. And then we're going to come and do some small ones next to it. Again, you make yours however big you want, entirely up to you. Okay, but this last one's going to tuck right inside the edge there of our last one that's on the top. Okay, well, that's not very big. Let me make that just a smidge bigger. There we go. Okay, all right, and then we're going to do the same thing over here on the right. So we're going to add some dips here. Those of you just joining us, we're working on our third creative escape. This week we have an oceans and beaches theme, so we are working on a jellyfish. And if you're looking for a little creative outlet, creative escape, grab a piece of paper and dive in. Okay, all right, and then again, this one's gonna, whoops, tuck in right there. I think I'm gonna combine those two, make those a little bigger. Do-over. Yeah, feel free to take as many of those do-overs as you need. Nothing wrong with that. All right, there we go. How's that? Better? All right, so then these we're going to follow the curve up with as well, and they're going to tuck inside. Okay, so once they reach the top set of ridges that we did, just let it disappear. But again, you want to just kind of do those curve shapes like we did on top. So curve out and start to tuck back in a little bit. Okay. Out and in. And then out on that one, and just leave this last one alone for a little bit. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side. So take it out and start to curve up a little bit, just like that. And there you have a jellyfish cap. Woohoo! All right, so now we're going to add some tentacles in there, and we're going to start with the big fat ones first, okay? So these, again, you can put them kind of anywhere you want to put them, but I'm going to start with the middle one, okay? And on the original photo, let me grab that just a second so you can see here. So on the original drawing that I did, you can see these have lots of little bumps and wiggles on them, okay? And I think lots of jellyfish actually have a little ridge that cuts across here, I guess you'd call it. I'm not a scientist, so I don't know the official term, sorry. But they're really textured. So if you want to add more detail to yours, feel free to look up a photo on the internet and add that detail in there. But as we're starting with ours, we're just going to do kind of a curved line first to get the basic shape of our tentacle, and then we'll come back and add those little bumps on there, okay? So that's the direction we're headed. We're going to do the 3 large tentacles first, okay? All right, let me set this off to the side, and we'll dive in. So we're going to do the one in the middle first. Okay, and again, you can pick where you want it to go, but I'm going to start mine right about in the middle here, and we're just going to wiggle it out and curve around and maybe bring it to a point like so. And then pick a place for that guy to end, and maybe he's going to end here. And then what you want to do is just echo that first line that you drew, but as you echo it, get a little more narrow as you work your way to the bottom, okay? And again, here, kind of narrow it down and maybe make a little arrow tip on the end, kind of like that. Okay? All right. And so I don't confuse myself, I'm going to come up here and erase the ridges that I don't need. Okay? There. So that tentacle overlaps the backside of the jellyfish. See that? All right. So now we're going to do a couple of more large tentacles that kind of weave in and around this first one that we drew, okay? So the second one, I think I'm going to start over here. And again, let's just get the shape of it first. So we're going to wiggle it maybe this direction. Maybe it's going to cut behind that first one that we drew. And then maybe it's going to twist and come back out this side and down there, okay? Again, you make yours do whatever you'd like for it to do. You do not have to follow exactly what I'm doing here. Okay, you're the artist, so if you want to change it, change it. All right, so then we're going to give ourselves kind of the other side of this tentacle. So how wide do you want yours to be? Give yourself kind of a starting point there. And again, we're going to echo our first line, but we're going to get a little more narrow as we come down. Oops, I got a little too narrow too quick here. All right, so bring it down. And again, if you want to put a little point on the end of it, feel free to do that. If you want to adjust that first line a little bit to get more of a point, go for it. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. All right, and again, we're going to erase what we don't need up here so we don't forget what we had in mind when we drew these lines, okay? All right, touch that up a little bit. All right, so there's 2, and now we're going to do the third one, and I think it's going to like maybe tuck back in up here. So we're not going to see the very top of it, but it's going to peek out this direction maybe and come down and off to the side like so. Okay, and the other side of it I think is going to pop out here, and we're going to come down, echo this first shape a little bit, get it a little more narrow as it comes down, and give it a point. Okay, and we're going to erase. Now, if yours is feeling a little bit unbalanced, you can feel free to add a fourth one in there if you want to. Okay, but you certainly don't have to, up to you. Okay, I think I might need a fourth one here. This guy's looking a little lopsided. So let's maybe add one that peeks out here. And maybe he wiggles around this direction. Maybe he's a little shorter than the rest of them are. Okay, again, how wide do you want it to be? Echo your first line. Get more narrow as you come down. And give it a little point. Okay, and then erase what you don't need. Okay. All right, how's your jellyfish coming out there, you guys? Hope you're having fun. Again, no art experience needed. Just dive in and have some fun. Give yourself permission to fail. The whole point is to just give yourself a break from life at the moment, a little bit of a distraction. So, Okay, so there are our thick jellyfish tentacles. So now we're going to come in and add the bumps that we talked about earlier. So let me show you that again here. Whoops, sorry. Jiggled you there. All right, so again, we're working on these fatter tentacles right here. So we're going to come add some bumps on the outside edge of our tentacles now, okay? All right. Hopefully you're drawing lightly on your end. Again, I'm pushing pretty hard because I want to make sure it shows up on the screen for you. All right, so what I would recommend here, and there's no right or wrong answer, so you kind of do what you want, but start with some that are a little bit bigger at the top, okay? Just bump it out, bring it back in, okay? And give it a good size dip, and bring it back out, and bump it in, and out, and in, and just follow that line that you drew. Maybe you want some that are closer together, maybe some are further apart and bigger. Entirely your choice. Put as many or as few as you want to on there, and then when you get down to the end, maybe give it a good point, just like that, okay? All right, take an eraser and clean up what you don't need. And then we're gonna work on the other side and try to echo our bumps, okay? Whoop. Okay, touch that up. And if you've got a smaller eraser than I do, it probably would work a little better for you, but that's what I had on hand, and the eraser on the end of this pencil is not real great, so it's all right. We'll make do, yeah? Okay, so now we're going to work on this opposite side of the tentacle, and you want to create kind of a mirror image here, okay? So you're going to just start to kind of bump out a little bit here, come down, and then this one's going to bump out. And then see where it comes in right here. You want to come in about that same spot. Okay, and then it bumps out again. So you want this side to bump out. Does that make sense? Try to mirror image. Okay, and if it's a little off, so what? It's okay. Let it be a little off, right? Okay, again, this one's out just a little chunkier. And back in and out here. And then we're going to kind of narrow up and make kind of a more of an arrowhead right there at the tip, okay? All right, again, erase what you don't need. Touch up what you do want to keep, okay, if you happen to erase it like I am, as you're trying to get the lines you don't need. Okay, oops, clean that back up a little bit. All right, just gonna trace over what I want to keep again so we make sure it's showing up for you. All right, how's yours coming? You doing okay? All right, be sure if you've got any questions or anything, type them there in the chat and I'll try to answer as we go. Okay, whoops, that's sticking out just a little too far. Let me touch that up. All right, tuck that in. Okay, so now we're gonna repeat that process for the rest of our tentacles here, okay? So I think I'm gonna do number 2 next. So this is the second one that we put in. So again, you decide, where do you want your bumps to go? Create some good hills and valleys there. Okay, and let's see, this one maybe it will tuck out there and dip in and back out here. And let's see, put maybe a couple more down here. Maybe I'm going to make these just a little smaller as the tentacle gets pretty narrow down here. Okay, and again, this may be a kind of an arrowhead point right there. Okay, erase what you don't need. How's yours coming, guys? You doing okay? All right, touch up these lines that we want to keep. Here we go. All right, and then again, we're going to create a mirror image on the other side here. So come down from the top, and this bumps out, and then we're going to cut back in, and we're going to disappear behind tentacle number 1 there, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and erase that line while we're there, okay? Oops, I didn't get that side, did I? Okay, and then we're going to peek back out here. So it looks like we're in the process of a dip in, so we're going to dip in, and then we're going to come back out, and in, Whoops. And then let's come back out, kind of like so. And in and back out. Okay. And then we're going to start to work our way out again. And in, out, in, and a point. Okay. All right. Erase what you don't need, and then we'll move on to tentacle number 3. Again, give yourself permission to have fun, you know, no stress, no judgment, just have a good time, relax. If it doesn't quite turn out the way you want, well, that's okay. You can always try again or just enjoy what you did. Maybe he's a funny looking jellyfish and that's okay. All right. There's tentacle number 2. All right, let's hop over here to this one. And we're going to add some more bumps there. So again, give yourself some good contrast between the, you know, hills and valleys there. And you decide, are they all the same size or do they get a little bit smaller as they come down to the end here? Okay. And just kind of give yourself a sharp point on the end maybe. Okay. Erase what you don't need. And then we'll do the mirror image. Whoop. Okay, so then the next side here, and let's see, this one kind of bumps out here, so that bump out's going to start right about there. So I'm going to work my way backwards just a little bit so I can create maybe another bump right there. There we go. All right, and this one's already bumping out nicely for us, so we're going to dip in and out and in, out again, in, out, in, and I think we're just going to leave that line as is because I kind of like the shape of that. Okay. Okay. Erase what you don't need again. All right, and then touch up what you want to keep. Strengthen those lines a little bit, but again, I wouldn't press too hard on your end of things, guys, because especially if you're going to color it with some colored pencil later. Colored pencil is really transparent and it's going to show these graphite lines underneath of it, so the lighter you draw, the more that colored pencil can shine without being dulled by the graphite lines. Okay, but entirely your choice, no right or wrong there. You do whatever makes you happy. Okay, all right, so let's put some bumps on this last tentacle and then we'll do some small ones and get to a little bit of coloring. How's that sound? Okay, so this one up here, we're gonna maybe start to bump out right about there. And go ahead and put your hills and valleys in there. All right, gonna come out, exaggerate that end just a little bit so it's got a nice point to it. Okay, erase what you don't need. Okay. All right, and then we're going to mirror image again. So as we lose part of it behind this tentacle, let's maybe start with a place we do know, right? So this one's got a nice dip right there. So if we kind of mirror image that, it should be about right here. So we're going to work backwards here, okay? Let's see. Bump out there and bump out this way. There you go. And then just continue mirror imaging. Here we go, out here on the tip, narrow it up, bring it out, and sharpen that tip. There you go. All right, erase what you don't need. Okay. How's your jellyfish coming? You doing okay? If you've got any questions, feel free to type them in, or if you need me to slow down at all, just holler, okay? All right, clean up my lines a little bit so you can see them better. How's that look? What do you think? Okay, so next we're going to do the small tentacles on here. So let me show you kind of where we're headed. So these little tentacles, we want to kind of come off of the cap of the jellyfish. We're going to do some that overlap the tentacles we just got done drawing, okay? And we're also going to do some in the back that tuck behind, and that will create a nice sense of depth for you and give you maybe a little bit more of a three-dimensionality feeling to it, okay? All right, so let's tuck this off to the side again. All right, and let's see, let's maybe start here in the middle. Okay, clean that up, and I think I'm going to do one that comes right off of the tip of this little ridge right here to start with, and I'm going to bring it down, and we're going to curl it around this way, and maybe down like so. And I like to give these a little bit more of a curl, just maybe like the ocean currents moving them or something, or this jellyfish is on a mission to go find lunch, maybe, I don't know. Okay, echo your shape, get more narrow as you come to the end, and bring it to a nice point. Okay, and then we're going to go in and erase the thicker tentacles that this one overlaps. Okay. That way you don't get confused as to what you're keeping and drawing here. All right. Here we go. All right. Okay, darken these lines up so we make sure they stand out a little bit. Again, I would not necessarily do that on your end. Okay, keep yours a little lighter if you can. Oops, I've missed a spot. That way when you go to color it, you're not necessarily stuck with your graphite lines. You can go over them with something else. Okay? All right, there we go. Where else should we put some? Let's see. Let's maybe do one right here at this point where these two ridges come together. And again, you decide how much do you want that one to wiggle. Maybe this one's going to be a little more straight. Entirely up to you. Okay, and decide how thick it's going to be, and echo your line and get a little more narrow as you come down. Okay, and if you want yours to be a little shorter than I just made this one, go for it. That one I made kind of long, so yeah, I think I'm going to shorten it up. I'm not real happy with that. Let's see, maybe he's going to live right there. Okay. Here we go. All right, erase the larger tentacles that fall behind this one, or in the middle of it rather. Okay, so get rid of those lines you don't need. Okay, and then we'll clean up what we want to keep. Oops, okay, we're also going to erase this ridge right here. Okay. There we go. All right, let's see. Let's maybe pull one off of this little ridge right here. And maybe he actually starts behind this large tentacle, but we're going to see it peek through here and through there. And let's see, maybe he's going to pop out this side again. And maybe he's going to continue on over this direction. Okay. And we're just going to echo that line, and I'm working backwards this time, so I'm going to make it get a little bit wider as it comes up. Okay, and he's just going to live behind these tentacles there, and let's see, maybe you might see a little smidge of it right there, but if you don't want to mess with that, it's okay. It might take a sharper turn and you wouldn't see it, so your jellyfish will look fine if you don't want to mess with that little section. Okay. All right, how we doing? All right, let's do one more over here on this side, and let's bring it off the end of the cap over here on the right. Okay, let's see, so let's maybe start right about here, and I'm just going to wiggle it around over here on this edge a little bit, maybe tuck it over this tentacle a little bit, and maybe he's going to sneak back out over here. Okay, and then the other side, again, echo your shape, and bring it to a point. I got a little narrow right here, so I'm going to widen the left side of that tentacle a little bit because the right one's already at the edge of our jellyfish cap, so we don't want to have it sticking out there attached to nothing, right? All right, and then we're going to erase in here again. Okay. How you doing? Hope your jellyfish is coming along all right. Okay, so we're going to add just a few more over here on the left-hand side. And let's maybe start this one right here. And we're going to wiggle it to the left a little bit and tuck it down this way and maybe out there. Okay, decide how wide it's going to be and echo that first line that you drew while getting a little more narrow as you work your way down. Okay. If you're just joining us, welcome. We're doing our third creative escape today. So as we're all kind of stuck at home and living under some stressful times at the moment, we're just giving you an opportunity for a fun creative outlet, completely free of charge and just for the fun of it. And you don't have to have any art experience to do it. Just dive in, give yourself permission to make mistakes and have some fun, okay? You can find the full list of our theme-related items at the link in the description above. This week we're doing oceans and beaches. Last week we did fantasy themes, and the week before we started with a spring theme. So lots of fun themes I have yet in mind to come. But feel free to add some items to the jellyfish or come up with your own drawing altogether. Or even do a drawing a day. You know, pick something new every day off the list to draw. Just have fun with it. And feel free to research some images if you're not sure what these things look like. You know, I kind of had to do that for our jellyfish because I don't typically draw jellyfish, but it's kind of fun. I kind of like it. So I hope you guys are having fun out there too. All right, let's do maybe one more over here on this side. That's gonna start at the edge of the jellyfish's cap, and let's just kind of wiggle it around out here a little bit. Maybe it comes mostly straight down, okay? Again, decide how thick you want it to be, and this is going to come up to the front edge of the cap, so I'm going to overlap this back line right here, okay? So it's going to come up here, and again, just echo that first line that you drew and get a little more narrow as you come down, okay? All right, and this is an activity, guys, that I think will work well for nearly any age. You know, just take it where anybody's at. So if you've got a kiddo running around home that needs something extra to do, it might be something fun for them. As well as it's fun for we adults, yeah? Okay, so let's erase a line right here. Okay, what do you think? You know, if you wanted, you could certainly add another tentacle back here in the back, but I'm feeling like it's awfully kind of full at the moment, so I don't want to mess it up and get carried away and have too much in there. So I think we're probably ready for some colored pencil. What do you say? All right, so again, you can pick any color that you want. I love pinks and purples and blues, so that's kind of where I went with mine. And I just used some regular old Crayolas for this. So here's the colors that I got. Just a violet purple. On this one, Crayola's magenta there, and then just a regular blue. But again, you can pick any colors that you like and still create some very similar effects here, okay? What I would recommend, though, is that you pick some colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. Well, Gina, what the heck are you talking about? A color wheel? We non-art people aren't really sure. Well, I'm glad you asked. So if you think about, you know what, let me turn this paper over and we'll just draw on the back. If you think about a rainbow and bend it into a circle, so to speak, kind of like so, right? At the top of the circle, you're going to have red, and you're going to work your way around. So orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet or purple, whichever term you prefer there, okay? And so what I mean is pick 3 colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. So maybe your jellyfish is going to be red, orange, and yellow, or maybe you're going to do shades of yellows, greens, and blues, or you can do like I did, reds, violets, and blues, okay? And the reason I say that is because those colors that are next to each other will blend well together without giving you some yucky brown tones that you don't necessarily want, right? So for example, if you were to mix maybe red and green and blue, anywhere that you put your red and green together, you would create a brown color because they're opposites on the color wheel. Does that make sense? So, all right, crash course in color theory over. There you go. All right, so we're going to start with our cap up here again. And I'm going to start by doing just a light magenta layer over the whole thing. Okay, so with colored pencil, to get these really fun blended effects that I did here, I don't know if that shows up very well on your screen, but here these ridges are mostly magenta, but then at the edge I've got like a hint of some purple and some blue out here. I don't know if that shows up very well on your screen, but hopefully you can see it. And then the fatter tentacles down here, I did a layer of purple to start with, but then I did some blues over the top, some pinks at the edge, the magenta color at the edge, and then just added some more blue and purple here at the top to create a little bit of a shadow. Okay, so this is the technique that I use a lot on my personal artwork and how I get those super realistic results. It's just tons and tons of layers of color, so almost 30 layers. Now we're not going to do 30 layers today because I think you might drive you a little crazy, right? It takes a lot of hours to build all that up, but we're going to work a little faster. Okay, all right, so we're going to start with a layer of magenta. And you can go ahead and do the whole thing if you want. I don't want to take a ton of your time tonight, so I'm just going to do one section here to kind of get you going. Okay, and I'm going to push a little harder than I normally would, but notice I use a circular motion, and those circles overlap so that you get like a more even application of color without streaks, okay? And you want to try to do as small a circle as you possibly can. Okay, now if you want richer color effects here, do lighter layers and more of them, okay? I'm pushing fairly firmly, so on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is the lightest and 10 is the hardest, I'm probably at about a 5 here, okay? But again, if you want to spend more time and get more layers and a richer color, ease up on the pressure and do a 1 or a 2, okay? The gal I learned colored pencil from referred to that as whispering the color on the paper. Okay, I kind of like that analogy. It helps me remember to ease up a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to take my violet or my purple, and I'm going to put a little hint of a shadow at the edge of this ridge on each side, okay? Now, with this, I'm going to put the pencil on its side, so I'm using the leads kind of flat against the paper, okay? And I'm going to ease up on the pressure, and notice I'm grabbing the pencil clear at the back as well. That helps me to ease up on the pressure as well. It's physically not as easy for you to put a lot of pressure on the pencil when you're grabbing at the back. Okay, it's still going to do those tiny circles that we talked about. Okay, and just put a little edge of purple here and let that line be loose. Okay, you don't necessarily want an outline. You want the shadow to kind of fade as it comes in a little bit, right? So push a little harder at the outside edge, ease up as you work your way in, and just vary that pressure, darker at the edge, lighter towards the middle, and get yourself kind of a fuzzy line right there. Does that make sense? And create a little bit of a shadow. See? Okay, all right, let's go ahead and do some at the bottom here as well. Okay, just a hint of a little shadow down here, not too much. Okay, and then we're going to repeat on this side. So again, darker at the outside edge, push a little bit harder, and then ease up as you work your way to the inside and let it fade out. So you create a gradual transition from your shadow at the edge, and then let that shadow fade as it comes to the highlight there in the center of this ridge. Does that make sense? Okay, again, if you've got any questions or anything, feel free to type them in the chat. I'd be glad to try to answer them for you as I draw. And hopefully your jellyfish is turning out well and you're having fun. Okay, so now if you'd like to enhance that shadow just a little bit more, you can take your blue and create that same effect that you did with the purple, but maybe just leave the blue a little bit further at the outside edge. So darken a little bit here. Go ahead and go over your graphite pencil line there as well. And again, hopefully your lines are lighter than mine are. They will fade underneath the colored pencil a lot better the lighter they are, right? Again, colored pencil, because it's transparent, lets that graphite show through. I pushed harder so that hopefully you can see the lines a little better. But if it were me, on a normal basis, I wouldn't do that. I'd make them pretty light. Okay, all right, so now we're going to hit that with our magenta again with about a 5 or 6 pressure, and we're going to go over the whole thing and blend those colors together. And I'll make sure I add a little more, use more of the point of the pencil out here at the edge where that graphite line is, just to blend that in a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Again, circular motion. Pushing pretty firmly. And the more layers of color you put down, the more intense your color is going to get too, which is something I love. I love bold, bright colors. But if that's something that maybe is not your thing and you'd rather stick with more pastel tones, feel free to put some layers of white colored pencil in there too, and that'll help to tone your color down just a little bit. Okay. All right, what do you think? Yeah, it's looking pretty good. And if you want, as I said, you can keep layering some purples in there and enhance your shadows a little bit more. If maybe you see an area where you didn't quite have enough or an even amount of shadow, go back in and add a little bit. Nothing saying you can't, right? And here's a little trick. If you make a mistake, you can use a piece of Scotch tape to pull some color off. Let me show you how to do that real quick in case you boo-boo. Okay, so just grab a roll of clear tape, yeah? Take a little off the end here. And then you can use either your colored pencil or regular pencil. You're going to grab a corner of the tape. I don't know if you can see that very well. Grab a corner of the tape with your finger. Lay it across gently the area that you want to erase. And take a pencil and just rub where you want to lift that color off. Again, circular motion. Use the side of the pencil so you don't put a groove in your paper. And then just gently peel up. Whoop! And see how it pulls that color off there? Isn't that fun? You can actually see it stuck to the tape too. Where's my finger? There. See it right there? Yeah, isn't that fun? It's one of my favorite things to do. I love it. Okay, not that I really enjoy doing it when I make a mistake, but I'm glad it's there and it's a really great tool. So let me touch this back up. Pretty fun anyway. And I love that there's a way to erase colored pencil so you don't have to like completely start over or live with this layer of too much color that you got on to something, you know. I use it a lot in my flower drawings because I make a lot of mistakes. Okay, how you doing? Doing okay? All right, let me touch up this magenta right here, and then I'm going to do one of these large tentacles for you to show you how that works. Okay, so again on mine, I did those a little darker and started with a layer of purple first, okay? So let's put a layer of purple down. I'm going to put it on its side so I can use the edge and go a little quicker. Again, about a 4 or 5 pressure here. Tight little circles that overlap each other so you get a nice even layer of color down without being too streaky. Okay, work our way around the tentacle that's in front. And you know, if this is something you want to do and you don't really have large blocks of time during the day, you can certainly start on it one day, get a little bit done, you know, stop, work on it the next day for a little bit. Maybe you draw it all in one day and spend the next several days coloring it. Entirely up to you. I love working with colored pencil and you know, it does take quite a little while to do, but I kind of find that relaxing. You know, it reminds me of coloring as a kid, and just that repetitive motion I think has a great power to help us kind of relax and calm down and just block out the stress of the world. You know, just gives us that repetitive motion to focus on. I just love that. And there's lots of artsy things you can do that, you know. It doesn't always have to be drawing if that's not your thing. But do find something during these days to focus on and give yourself a creative outlet and something fun to do that brings you joy and helps you relax and, you know, lighten the weight that you carry. Okay, so now we're going to take the blue and we're going to add a shadow up here at the top. So we're going to push a little harder up here. Oh, hey, Lois, I see you left a comment. What'd you say? So relaxing. Oh, well, good. I'm glad you're enjoying it and learning things too. That's awesome. Thanks for hanging out with me today. All right. So we're going to do a shadow up here underneath the cap. Again, that's just to help create a sense of depth and give our jellyfish some dimension so it didn't look so flat, right? And then the other thing I'm going to do with that is pull that blue down the center of our tentacle, okay? You decide how thick of a blue stripe you want, or maybe you don't want a stripe at all. That's completely fine. Don't have to do it, okay? Or maybe you're working with blues and greens and yellows, okay? And maybe your tentacle is going to be green with a blue stripe or yellow with a green stripe. You decide, okay? Have some fun with it. Maybe if you're not happy with your first jellyfish, try another one, and maybe it's going to be a different set of colors than this one is, okay? Just play and have some fun. All right. I'm going to vary the thickness of this blue stripe a little bit. So in the areas where my tentacle kind of bulges out, I'm going to make that blue line a little bit thicker. And then where it's narrow, narrow it up a little bit. Okay, how's your jellyfish coming out there, you guys? All right, I'm going to echo that arrow shape right here, work around that tentacle that overlaps the front. There we go. All right, then I'm going to take the magenta and I'm going to put some highlights at the edge of our tentacle here, okay? So, and feel free to overlap the blue a little bit. I mean, that's the nice thing about using colors that are next to each other on the color wheel is you can overlap them and it doesn't make that nasty brown color that you don't necessarily want. Now those brown colors, let me tell you, they work great for shadows and I use them a lot when I'm drawing flowers and trying to make them look super realistic. That knowledge of complementary colors, those opposites on the color wheel really come in handy for that. But that's not really what we want right here, right? We want pretty colors to make our pretty jellyfish. So pick those colors that are beside each other and feel free to overlap them a little bit because it's not going to hurt a thing, right? You mix red and blue together and you get purple anyway, which is the color we started with on this tentacle, right? So completely fine. And you decide how bright of a pink you want at the edge there too. You know, maybe push a little harder. What is underneath my paper? There's some goober underneath my paper and I've got a little hard spot right here. So just be mindful of that when you're drawing. Maybe stack a couple of pads of paper if you don't want something like that to happen. It'd be all right. Okay, and we'll work our way up the other side and do the same thing. Create your highlight there, overlap your blue stripe just a little bit, and then we're going to go over the whole thing with a little more purple. And you'll notice I'm using more of the point of the pencil here, but my pencil is awfully flat and dull right there. So it works, it's okay. Otherwise, I would probably be getting streaky color and would switch to using the side of the pencil. So just play with it and see how you do. All right, back to the purple. And we're going to go over the whole tentacle there. I'm going to kind of use the side a little bit more here again because this one's more pointy and I don't want streaks. And I'm going to grab a little bit more towards the front because I want to put a little more pressure on it. Now if this tones down your pink or your blue more than you want, feel free to take that color and go back over the top and darken it up. Push a little harder up here where that shadow is. Okay, oops, sorry for that notification on my phone. Okay, so push a little harder where the shadow is just to deepen that, and then maybe ease up a little bit on top of your magenta, but entirely up to you. Okay, Mr. Purple. There we go. And depending on what kind of paper you're working on too, some papers will hold more layers of color than others. So you'll find that you reach a point where the tooth of the paper is what it's called, gets filled in and you just really can't add any more. And that's really the goal that I work towards in my colored pencil drawings. You see all these little white flecks showing through? That's the tooth of the paper showing through, which is great because it lets you add more layers of color. But at some point you really don't want those to show unless you're doing it for a specific texture effect, right? You want it to look rough and bumpy. So I always, just continue layering colors until I get them all filled in, or I use a cool thing called a colorless blender that pushes all those pigments together. And if you want to see that sometime, let me know. I'll be glad to show you. Okay. So again, just layering our purple over the whole tentacle, tiny circles that overlap. Try to avoid those streaks. I'm rushing a little bit so I don't take too much of your day. So my circles are a little bigger and a little more streaky than they would probably be otherwise, but you feel free to take your time as you have time to sit and color. Okay. And again, if we, lost some of the bright pink that you liked, go back in and darken that up. Take another layer of magenta in there and push a little harder and bring those highlights back out. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. And then where one tentacle tucks behind another, I might be tempted to put a darker shadow like we did up here at the top. Do that behind this tentacle too to help it stand out a little more if you want. Okay? All right, so one last tentacle I'm going to show you how to do, and then I'm going to let you get about your day. So we're going to do these little small tentacles here, and on my example that I did earlier, I did those like a really bright pink magenta. So let's see, let's pick a shorter one so it doesn't take quite as long for you. All right, so I'm going to push pretty firmly with this one because I want it to be a nice bright pink. And this one I just filled in pretty much all magenta all the way down. So push as hard as you want to. In fact, I'm going to show you this. This is what's called burnishing. When you push so hard that you fill in the tooth of the paper and you kind of mash it and there's no white flecks showing through. I don't know if you can see that very well, but that's burnishing. And kind of the goal that I always tell my students at school to work towards is getting that paper filled in completely. Okay? And you can do that with a colored pencil, or you can do it with that colorless blender that I mentioned earlier, which is what I tend to use on my artwork because it doesn't adjust the color very much. It intensifies it, but it doesn't really change it. As we're using a colored pencil to do that burnishing, changes the color. So anyway, tidbit of trivia for you today. Maybe more than you wanted to know about colored pencil. I'm kind of an art geek, so I love to get lost in the technique of things and just talk about it. It's fun. Fun for me. Hopefully fun for you too. Okay, so that one I just filled in nice and solid pink. And then I'm going to sharpen my purple pencil here just a second. We're going to put a purple stripe down the middle. Okay. All right, so really sharp tip. And then just find roughly the center of that tentacle and echo your line again. And I'm going to use kind of a scrubbing back and forth motion right here, so that that colored pencil really digs into the paper a little bit and shows up, right? Just a fun purple stripe right down the middle. And again, you don't have to do that if you don't want to mess with it, completely fine. But if you want to, go for it. And if your line gets a little too chunky, we'll sharpen your pencil again, get that nice point, and go back after it, okay? Here we go. Just like that. And then maybe, once you get your jellyfish all colored, maybe you want to add some fun bubbles in there. Oh, I'm sorry, Lois, you've got a question there for me. It says, what colorless pencil? Say that again. It's a colorless blender pencil. Let me just dig one out of my drawer right here. I've got a set. And it's actually not much of a pencil. This is what it is. Caran d'Ache Full Blender Bright. And these are just 2 sticks of like wax material. Let me open this and I'll show you what it does. Maybe. You know what? I've got one in the living room. Hang on, I'll be right back. Okay, here I come. All right, so these guys, colored pencils, are made with wax and pigment, or some of them clay and pigment. The pigment's the colored material, but these colorless blenders use just this, well, pencil, I guess you'd call it, of wax, right? And this one's really short, but when you use them, make sure you wipe off the tip here, and then you're just gonna push really firmly, and it pushes those layers of color together. And I always use a circular motion too, but see how it just pushes those colors together and kind of intensifies them? Works a lot better with Prismacolors and something that's got like a richer pigment to it than Crayola's does, but as you can see, it also works with Crayola. I'll hide my pencils while I'm gone. I like that, Lois. I love your sense of humor. That's great. Love it. So anyway, that's what a colorless blender does. Okay? And the other thing I was thinking that you could do if you want is you could add some bubbles next to your jellyfish. And if you wanted to do that, you could do some different sizes. But just start with some circles, maybe different sizes, maybe do some big ones. And then if you want, you can do a little reflection on them. So you just kind of echo the shape of the bubble and put some curved ends on it, just like that. You can do like little bitty ones right there. Just like that. Maybe some over here. Just play with it a little bit. have some fun. You can also put some other little fish in there, maybe some baby jellyfish. Just have a good time. Play with it, right? All right. Any other questions? Anything? All right, hang on. I'm going to grab you out of the holder here. Here's the final one more time, in case you need that shot. Okay. All right, I'm going to turn you around here. Hi there. Well, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I really had a fun time. Thanks for commenting, and I would love to see the photos of your drawings. If you feel brave enough to share those, post them in the comments below. Again, if you missed it, you can check out the link to the list of ocean and beaches themed related items that we're working from this week. Just click the link above. And then if you're interested in hearing more about my artwork or learning more about what I like to do with the flowers and stuff, there is a sign up form where you can join our Enduring Roots Insiders group and get the inside scoop on all of my artwork. So, hey, thanks for hanging out with me today. It's been a lot of fun. I hope to see you back here next week. Remember, Sunday, our new theme comes out for the week, and then I'll see you here Monday at 4:30 Central. All right, take care, guys. Have a good one. We'll talk to you later. Bye.